All right, everyone. So we are back for another episode of Faith in Home Buying. And I'm really excited, especially excited when I'm able to have guests on this show that have went through the process. Faith in Home Buying, it is equipping people of faith for the home buying process. And whenever I'm able to have, friends and clients come and talk about their experience, it's always a treat. And so real quickly, Retayna, can you say hello?
Hello.
I'm so glad to have you on, and just in this time. And I really do think that what you're going to share today. We only have 30 minutes of it, but what we're going to share today is definitely going to be some good insight for a lot of people who have maybe been discouraged, either prior to the process or either during the process. But ultimately have prevailed in the end. And I love the attitude that you have. And I think that with you sharing a little later on, it's going to be something that someone needs to hear to help them on their journey. So thank you again for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And so just real quickly in opening up, I always like to kind of have like an activate, educate, empower type of theme. And the first part is just the activation. And this is more of an exhortation, I think, to people that, especially now during COVID. And I have a lot of people that called in that are listeners, or either those that I know personally. And I'm telling you, like this time has been an amazing time for people to step out of their comfort zone, which is really interesting. That all the other times in the world now is when people have stepped out into their comfort zone, specifically during COVID or shelter in place.
Mhm.
And, I hope not only just what we're about to talk about with Retayna, but I just gonna keep saying this. When you have a promise, or when there is an unction, specifically because my medium is home ownership. When it comes to home ownership, or a changing of lands of areas and possessing that land in that area, I'm telling you it's for a reason. And I have been privy, because I'm in it, and I see every day examples of when people kind of put not even kind of, when they put the faith part and the action part together, and when they marry them, and what is resulted from that. And this is just, again, another encouragement today that what God has started in your life, and specifically if you're not where your heart wants to be, or where you're supposed to be, just best believe that God's still working out things behind the scenes. He's setting up people in places that you have no clue what's going on. But he's setting up the right people to make sure that when it's time, and then the time for you to be released into that destiny, it will come through and it will come to pass. And even though, when they say to write the vision down and make it plain, even when you write the vision down, sometimes it's going to tarry, sometimes it will. But I tell you what, when you write it down and you have a focus and you have a God-centeredness of saying, God, I want to do this with you versus doing it on your own. I'm telling you, even the times in which things look like it's just never going to happen, automatically something happens. People get moved out of the way. Things end up happening that you're like, how the heck did this come through? This should have never even happened. It shouldn't have been this easy, and sometimes a little bit difficult. But understand too, I always say this too, like wherever there is a call of your life, your family life, in a community, it's not just for you. It really is for that community. It's probably for a neighbor. It's probably for one of your kids' friends that are going to have in the neighborhood. It's probably for the school that they're going to go into. It's probably for, if you're with an HOA, you don't know where God is about to place you in order to be a light, because that's what we're called to be, right? Salt of the earth, light of the world. And I'm telling you, and I've seen it happen over and over again, those that are called to particular areas and not going to kind of what they think that they want to be, but where God says, no, I need you here. And wherever that is in the Bay Area, sometimes it's not where you think that it is. Sometimes it may be a little further out, and that's okay too. because God still has a plan and a purpose for that. And you don't know, he may be shifting things a little bit later on as far as job purposes, and redirecting and resurfacing and rearranging those things. And so I just, I needed to start off with just a little bit of a exhortation with people. And also too, understand, and this is what I think traps people from even going forward and getting a pre-approval, right? They think, oh, my credit's this, I've already done this, I don't even want to know. Or, it's really confronting. Well, I don't have all that paperwork. Oh, that's just too much work for me to do. I don't want to do it now. And then you put it off, you put it off, you put it off. And God's still nagging at you. You still put it off, you put it off. And I'm of the mindset and the true belief, because I've seen it happen, when the miracles are set to happen. And, I knew that, just the people in my realm and the people that I speak to, especially my church family, I knew that, wait a minute, you needed to be prepared in order to jump through that window, run through that door when God says go. Because when the opportunity happens and you're, oh no, I got to get my credit together. Oh no, I got, there's other things I have to do. Opportunity gone. You have to be ready to move. You have to be nimble and ready to move. And, that, if I don't leave you with anything else, today, I hope that's one thing that you catch. Be ready to move. Jump through that window, run through that door when the window of opportunity happens. Not to say it won't come back around, not saying that, because God is God, right? Whatever is for you, it's for you. However, it may take some more time. And, again, if you're a patient or impatient person, that may get with you a little bit. But just know that in the end, what is yours, it will always be yours. And I thank God for that. But get yourself ready, get a pre-approval. Go see what your credit is, So that being said, Retayna.
Yes.
So you have the keys to your house. It's been probably about a week and a half, about 2 weeks or so now.
About, yes.
Yeah, about 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And, I think, because in this first segment, it's just going to be telling people about, just initially, even before even meeting me, what were your thoughts on home ownership and what had been your experience?
For me, I tried before, but you do get frustrated, especially in a competitive society, in regards to so many people outbid you. That's frustrating in itself, and it kind of makes you want to just, let that go. And I did, because I tried this a few years ago and tried to buy a house, and that was the problem. I don't know that I was financially ready to buy the house, but I was giving it a shot anyway. I didn't know the particulars in buying a home. All I knew is, when we fast forward to the present, I had somebody who kept reaching out to me about, giving me houses, sending me houses on my email. And I think it was just ordained or appointed by God for this moment, because I just happened to see your face on one of the homes that I had saw online, and the people was leaving a review of you. And so I reached out, I saw your phone number. I told my husband about it. And so I was like, well, let me call her. And so I called you and just kind of got information as to how the process was. And I was letting you know what I read about you, and I wanted to try to move forward. First of all, with the economy happening the way it is today, thankfully, by the grace of God, my husband and I were still working. And we wanted to move forward on buying a house. So I let him know rent is going up. And the amount of money that you would pay for a rent, you will also pay for a home, to have a mortgage. So I told him, we're getting a little older. We're not old, but we're getting a little older. And I didn't want to have to wait for anything to happen, for my landlord. So I was like, well, we need to buy a home. And so that's when I reached out to you, filled out the application, and you set me in place with people you were connected to as far as the financial part, with my mortgage consultant who is a part of your group. And we just moved forward from there. Now, I originally wanted to buy in Tracy or Mountain House. Unfortunately, the county, FHA doesn't give you enough money to buy out there. So I had to look more toward Antioch and Brentwood in that area.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Let me pause you real quick, because when we come back, we're going to talk even more about that process, about timing, right? Because you had mentioned, in the beginning, talking about just timing. You tried it once, and it could have easily just kind of shut you down. Mm-hmm. And I think that's just important to mention to other people, because I know you're not the only one that has done that. Mm-hmm. Went through the process, then all of a sudden it just kind of it didn't work out, and you're just thinking like, well, maybe it's just not meant to be, and never get the opportunity to do it again. And mm-hmm. It's not necessarily that it never was meant to be. It's just not yet. And, mm-hmm. and take a pause. And so I say this because my first segment is running down, but when we come back, you're going to continue this story, and then even talk even more about the struggles, because a lot of us, when we go through this process, we think that, okay, it's just buying a home. Mm-hmm. No, in a lot of ways, we talked about, God, I'm never asking you for patience. And what ends up happening when we go through this process, and how God tests us even on patience, right? Mm-hmm. So when we come back, we're going to talk about that. So stay tuned. Thanks for talking. This is Faith and Home Buying, Tamika Ellsworth. All right, we're back with my special guest, Retayna, and she is going through just her process. And so now I'm going to give you some space, Retayna, to kind of take off where you left off on just the process now. Now that you've met me, you met one of my colleagues, you actually went and got another pre-approval process going, feeling good. What happens next?
So what happens next is I be in touch, or I'm put in touch with the mortgage lenders and so forth. First of all, let me back up a little bit in regards to the wanting to purchase a home. From the time when I tried before up to before now, this space gave me time to get myself together. Actually, it allowed me to put more money away, and not that I even knew I was putting money away, but I do have, something, a plan where I'm able to put money away. And also, I heard you speaking about timing in regards to God. And one thing about it is, first of all, I am a believer, and I do put my trust in the Lord. Mm-hmm. I won't say that I'm the most patient person. And
that was so good.
I said before, I do not ask God for patience, because with patience come trials and tribulations and storms. And even though you're going to have that anyway, I just don't need it doubled. So
right, put it more on myself, right?
However, God does have a set timing and for when He is going to have us do things. And sometimes I think we try to rush Him, and there is no rushing God. God has His own set time. You can want to move faster than God, but it's not going to happen until He said. And so moving forward, here I am. I've met you. I'm put in touch with the people I need to be put in touch with. I have my approval letter and so forth. And thankfully, we had the credit. We had, some monies put away. And it kind of, that part, it helped move a little smoother. And was able to get my approval letter. Now, that's not to say that God can't work miracles and make it happen even with bad credit, even with not enough money to put down, because I've heard stories where the Lord had worked it out, and this person that my friends knew was like, "You want to own a home?" And they were like, "We ain't got no money." And he was like, "I didn't ask you that. I asked, do you want to own a home?" And what they did, they had gave the last $10 in an offering one time, and they wanted to move. And the Lord just blessed where they were able to get a house and they're homeowners.
That's right.
With my situation, the Lord put me in place with the right people. I didn't know you at all. I never met you before. I just read about you as I began to talk to you on the phone. There was just a connection, and I appreciate that because it helped me. And so moving forward, you put me in the right place with the right people. I talked to my mortgage consultant. I talked to her through the whole process, and everything was good. Everything was working smooth. But whenever I had a problem, I always called you. I think you
and
heard from
that was
me.
okay. That was
Yeah,
okay.
you heard from me probably more than you wanted to. However, you were always right there to lend an ear, to give me insight, to give me, some words of wisdom, and I appreciate that. But as we were moving forward, filled out the stuff, I got approved. We started searching, looking at places. We looked at a few places here and there. I can't say necessarily that I was getting discouraged because there was so many places to see, and I was so encouraged because there were so many houses available in different
Exactly. That was a
places.
key.
Yes, it was a lot of houses available. We even had some options to where we could have bought from the building from the ground up.
Hmm.
I just didn't want to wait that long. That was more time because you had to wait for the home to be built before you can either move in, get your keys, and so forth. With this particular home, we finally found one that we liked. And the funny part about it was um, they weren't accepting any offers. It was like a Friday. I think it came on the MSL, or it was,
MLS.
yes,
MLS. Hmm.
MLS. Um, and they weren't accepting any offers. So that was a Friday. They weren't going to accept any offers on Monday. And I'm like, oh my God, what are we going to do? So anyway, we waited and we put our offer in. They accepted it. But let me tell you what happened before that. I My sister is also a believer, and I contacted her and I said, "Is this house that I'm interested in?" And and they're not accepting offers. And I said, and I'm unsure as to what I'm gonna offer. Am I going because they're asking for this amount, and and I said, but I don't know how much to offer over the amount that they're asking. And I said, and for some reason I have this amount in my head, but I want to kind of offer lower. She and I, we prayed together, and the Lord just spoke to her and let her know the amount that He wanted me to offer. And I did. I offered that amount, and lo and behold, they accepted my offer.
That's
So
right.
I
No, and that
do.
was, and the agent, just to let you know, that was Hamiko Siddiqui, and she is one of my contacts over there in the San Joaquin area slash the Central Valley. So thank you, Hamiko. Go ahead.
And so Monday came, they accepted the offer, and then I was able to go pay my earnest deposit, and I
Yep.
did that. And then moving forward on that, there was so much paperwork to fill out, so many different papers coming at you left and right, and you don't even know, as a first time home buyer, you don't even know what you're signing. So I was getting a little frustrated. So again, I reached out to you, Tamika, and I was like, I'm getting all this paperwork. Nobody is explaining to me what I'm signing. That part in itself can be very frustrating and very challenging,
Yep.
especially if you're the type of person who don't believe in signing stuff that you haven't read or don't really understand what you're signing. Thankfully, you were able to go over each piece of paper with me and let me know what it was, and then and why it was given to me to sign. And I appreciate that. So that made that part a little more smoother. I had I want to say one of the best mortgage consultants. Her name is Elva. I don't know what her last.
Elva Wormley with C2 Financial.
Yes, she is wonderful. She's very stern, but she is wonderful. She gives you what you need. She makes sure that as she is how Jesus is our advocate between us and God. She is like your advocate between you and the lender, and she makes sure that whatever they're wanting, that you have all that. And so as I was as she was asking for the information, I was, getting it to her. That part in itself as well is challenging, because you have to make sure that you have all your documents. The lender's gonna want all your T's crossed and all your I's dotted. They want to make sure, because they're giving you a loan of money and they're giving me a really good rate. Now it got to the place to where we had to get the inspection. That went smoothly. We had to get the appraisal. Now the appraisal part is what the challenging part was.
That's where the testimony is too.
Yes. And originally I was supposed to close August 27th. That did not happen. So I'm getting concerned. I have questions because I'm not closing. I have a set in rate. I have a set in amount, for my down deposit and everything, deposit and whatnot. And so I'm like, okay, this time is going over my closing date. So is my rate going to change? I was getting concerned. So I'm calling and calling and calling, and calling my mortgage consultant, Elva. And then she in turn was giving me information, and I'm going to put pause on that until we come back.
Actually, no, because actually we're going to be wrapping up the whole segment. But long story short, the appraisal actually took a lot longer. And let me tell you guys this: it took a lot longer than it was supposed to. We have probably about a minute or so in order to wrap up. But just to know that it took longer than it needed, than most would take, because of COVID. Fires were happening at the same time. It was a whole lot to even get an appraiser out there. Long story short, it actually ended up appraising for a lot less, and not a lot less, but about 20 or so thousand less. And guess what? She was able to get it for about $20,000, the same amount that it came in for the appraised value. That in and of itself, in this particular market, and especially being a seller's market, they could easily say goodbye and had somebody else got their number probably. But they ended up going with her offer. She also was able to negotiate some things also for kind of repairs for the home and the property. But ultimately, she ended up getting a
minor repair.
Minor repairs. A four bedroom, 7,000 square foot lot, almost 3,000 or so square foot of a home, 27. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And in all the while, the whole point is all the way through having patience and saying, you know what, God, I know I'm not the most patient person, but in this process, it's so interesting. She had to learn patience in a way that she's probably never had to learn patience before. That being said, and thank you again, Retayna, for that. But to wrap up, as you see, even with Retayna's situation, that miracles can happen. You got to get yourself in position, but not all the time do they look like what you think that they will. And that doesn't mean that God's not moving. That doesn't mean that God's not even in it. However, it's his perfect timing. And in the process, and I'm super proud of you that you continued on. And every time we prayed together, we even went to your house and prayed with you. Prayed together, you and your husband, you were steadfast. And so, so I thank you again, Retayna, for coming on and sharing your story. But one last thing you want to say?
Yeah, if I may say, when you're in this process, sometimes you're going to have to take a step back and stop, because sometimes we get a little antsy, sometimes we get a little, frustrated, and we're going and moving and doing, and not only are we trying to buy a house, we have a life with kids and husbands and stuff like that that's also happening in the background. But sometimes you have to back up, take a step back, let God do what he's going to do, and if you trust him, let him do it and just let it happen, because it will fall into place. I know that it will fall into place, but we, like you said, have to have the patience and let it happen.
Amen to that. And again, Retayna, again, with that, thank you so much. And I can't wait to have the barbecue with the pool over your house.
I don't have a pool.
Not yet. But you got that space, remember?
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Retayna. I appreciate it. God bless you.
Thank you.